So I want to talk about copying others. This is something that I've been having a lot of conversations with my entrepreneurial friends about, and I just wanted to share some of the things that are coming up for us, some thoughts, and hopefully some ethical guidelines to help us move forward in a better way. So there's been a lot of chatter going on in the online business world just about people copying each other and who has right to what. And let me caveat this by saying that I am not an attorney. I'm not providing legal advice. You should definitely talk to a lawyer to get information about trademark law and copyright law and all of those sorts of things if you want to dive more deeply into this. But I just want to share what I know and some of the thoughts about things. So first of all, an idea is not copyrightable, but a specific execution of that idea is. And so one of the things that me and a lot of my friends struggle with is this idea of not wanting to copy someone, even though there are very few fresh and totally new to the world ideas. The way that we advance our society, the way that we all lift each other up is by building upon each other's ideas. The most important point, however, though, is to give the person credit that came up with that and the person that you heard that from, and if you're going to be presenting it as something that's your own or as something that you are profiting off of, you should be adding new value to it. You should be making it your own. You should be adding it together with a whole bunch of new things, hypothesizing and experimenting and trying out your own things. So it doesn't mean that we can't use research. It doesn't mean that we can't use proven methods, and it doesn't mean that we can't get inspired by what other people are doing. It just means give people credit where credit is due and put your own spin on it. Because at the end of the day, I am not going to respect you less if you say that you heard about this or were inspired by someone else. I'm going to respect you more because you're not claiming to be the, original generator of all of these things, which just doesn't happen for most people. There are actually very few new authentic frameworks and models out there. Those don't happen as often as new iterations and ways of doing that. So these conversations came about for a number of reasons, but one of them was this woman that I follow in the online space. One of her longtime students and friends who had access to a course of hers put out her own course that was very, very, very similar. And online mayhem ensued after that, just in making this public and talking about what had happened, and it spurred conversations about what is okay and what is not okay, and also how to respond when you accidentally do maybe get inspiration a little bit more duplicatively than maybe is appropriate. We are all humans, and oftentimes we learn things and then down the road we do something and we don't realize that the seed was planted before, that we didn't generate that seed from scratch. And sometimes we forget where credit's due. So for example, I do a walk and talk processing chat with one of my very good friends, Kelly Beischel, and we've been chatting and talking business and life for years. When you have that kind of relationship with someone, you are going to have a huge impact on each other's way of living and thinking and doing, especially because what we're doing is actually helping each other work through things and giving each other suggestions on how to process through stuff. So I'm leveraging my strategic know-how and the skills and strengths that I've learned to help her, and she's using her coaching experience, her experience being a nurse and certified in positive psychology to help me. And then one day I'm doing a breathing technique and I'm like, I might not even remember that she was the one that told me about that, because there might be a ton of people talking about breathing, but really she deserves credit if she's the one that taught me something. And if she learned that technique from someone else, I should credit her and say that she is the one that shared so-and-so's technique from me. That is a great way to do it. And this is a tactic that I really got inspired by from a woman named Kelly Deal, who, if you go to her about page on her website, is really inspiring. She talks about like how she gives credit to people. She even puts credits and references on her sales pages, which is like unheard of, but amazing. And she actually, if you search like Kelly Deal, how to give someone credit or something like that, I think is how I found it. She actually wrote this huge long blog post when she herself was under attack from two different entrepreneurs at the time who were claiming that she stole an idea from her. And actually, it was fascinating what she wrote. Went down the rabbit hole, read the whole article, did a breakdown of what copyright laws, what it protects, what it doesn't, and actually went back and proved that she was actually the originator of these ideas, and that them being her students and followers had actually been the one who had sort of taken that idea from her. But she wasn't mad because it was just, in this instance, language, and no one can own a word or a language or a thought or an idea. I was having this conversation then with some other friends, and let me see if I can find it real quick. Lauren Hooper, one of my friends, who is an artist and a podcaster, she then shared with me a reel that she saw on Instagram. Not on Instagram very much. It takes me a hot second. Okay. Elise Brianna Design. That's ELYSEBREANNE Design. Okay, she did a reel, and I think stories, and she actually highlights it in her highlights about the Supreme Court decision about it was Warhol versus Vanity Fair, I think, and it was the idea. So when now I'm not going to remember her name. The original photographer, this is bad. This is why this is going to court. The original photographer took a photograph of Prince, Andy Warhol, turned it into a piece of art. Vanity Fair bought that piece of art from Andy Warhol, put it on the cover, and they obviously both profited from it. So the original photographer got nothing. And so the question is about fair use and the idea of what constitutes as fair use. So if you take someone else's art, someone else's creation, how much change do you need to make it your own, versus when is it still ownable by them? And this all goes back to what's considered fair use in copyright law, and there is a very gray line in the art space especially. And so anyways, I highly recommend that you actually watch that entire highlight reel. She went to law school and she's an artist, so she really breaks this down, and it applies to not just artists but also us in the online business world who are getting inspiration and learning from others all the time. So here's what I would recommend. Number one, if you have an idea, think really hard about whether or not that idea was inspired by something. And if so, give it credit. But number two, if you find out that an idea that you have is being done by someone else, so a friend and I had a conversation about Tarzan K, who she takes her emails and she actually records them, and then you can listen to her podcasts instead of reading them. And that supports a wider array of different thinkers and learners and workers. It makes her content more accessible. I think it's brilliant. My friend Kelly Beischel that I talked about, she's had this idea too, but she's actually in the same, I think it's called Hello Audio group as Tarzan K, and had learned that she was doing it and then felt like she couldn't do it because, she's going to feel like a copycat. And I've had a similar instance before where I've thought of an idea or a concept or a framework and be like, has anyone ever thought about this before? And I'll like Google it, and then I'll find some random guy on the corners of the web who 20 years ago posted a single post about something on a now defunct Facebook webpage. And I'm like, guess it's not new to the world. I'm not going to do it. But I had never heard about this guy before. It's clearly old. I did not steal his concept. It's just that it makes sense that multiple of us might come up with the same concept. If the guy who invented the wheel didn't invent the wheel, someone else may have invented the wheel. And so don't let this fear of copying hold you back from doing what you think is right in your business. And especially when it comes to something like the Tarzan K example, where that is actually good for our world. The fact that this is now a more accessible format is a good thing. And they're not even in the same space. So that's even more of an argument for why I would say go for it. And if you want to, check with the original woman who did it and be like, hey, I love this idea. Would it bother you if I do it too? And can I give you credit, or did you learn about it from someone else? Is there someone else I should credit with the idea? But if you didn't get the idea from them and you just find out that someone else is doing it, then no need to do that anyways. So there's another woman that I follow, Elizabeth Goddard, who I love, brilliant, putting out all sorts of really innovative ideas all of the time. And I signed up for a couple of her courses, and one of the things that she does in her courses, she had this artist and author named Leanne Dotson. I think I'm saying that right, or Dobson, one of those brilliant artists, really successful, do like a visual kind of illustration of the key points. It's kind of like a notes page, 9 pages that you could print out as a PDF, but it was so fun to read because it was like fun handwriting and like highlighted in colors and little doodles all over. And it was just another way for people who learn differently or to reinforce the thing. And at the end of the day, what I think about this is, one, it was a brilliant idea and I want to use it in my own business and I'm going to give her credit. But 2, this is making it accessible for more people. And it's more likely that the things that we invest so much time and energy and resources into creating are actually going to help more people. So how great is it that Lizzie's course is now going to be probably actually used and implemented by more people, and they're going to be able to serve the world even better because of it. Versus if you struggle to sit down and watch a million videos back to back to back, you might find it difficult to find information in a way that resonates with you and that you feel like you can really internalize it in the way that people are selling and do business and putting resources out there these days. And so I love that. And actually, I'm a part of her like goodie bag Christmas party. This is my 2nd year. And one of the things that she added this year was how, if at all, are you creating different accessibility options for your resources? And she had a whole list of things. And I had never really thought about this before, but what that did is it inspired me to see all of these things. Okay, now I see Tarzan K's audio emails for what they are. And Lizzie does the same thing in her courses, actually. And I saw her notes thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not just like a brilliant idea. That's actually, you might not make any more money from that, but it might make more satisfied customers, which I guess can make more money, but it's making it more accessible to more people. And isn't that the most important thing? Like, shouldn't we all be trying to make what we do more accessible to more people? And so that is something that I'm actually going to be trying. I mean, you could do everything from like, okay, so if you have a video, you can do closed captioning. You can then use that audio for listening for people who are more audible listeners. And then you can do a transcript, you could do summary of notes, you could do these visual notes, you could do infographics. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different other ideas out there, but there's so many ways that we can make our resources more friendly and accessible. And the fact that she asked about it is encouraging me to do business better. And then I see examples of how she's doing that, and I'm feeling the difference that it's making, even for someone that doesn't traditionally, is traditionally in line with the way that a lot of people are putting the resources out there in the way that I like to consume info. So for me, it's not an issue, but for someone else, that could be a game changer. But even for me, it was a delighter. Okay, now I'm really blabbing. Anyways, you can tell I'm fired up about this and that there's just been a lot of talk about it. But what I want us to do is not be afraid to put out concepts and ideas into the world because you think you're going to copy. So anyways, would love to hear your thoughts on this. So if you've got anything to say, anything to add, any thoughts, ideas, questions, comments, please include them. I would love to hear them and just continue this conversation as we figure this out together. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that we are continuing to provide positive impact to the world, improve the way that we are going about living and working and being. And in order to do that, we have to build on each other's ideas, share each other's ideas, and we should also be giving people proper credit and not be taking people's stuff for our own, but actually building upon them and adding new value. So some food for thought. Thanks for listening, guys.